Hello everybody, and welcome. Today I'm here with Julia.
Hello.
How are you, Julia?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. I thought that you were opening this live doing another thing.
Okay, reopen.
Now, vai. Ciao. Sorry about that.
So now you can guess why we are here.
Yes, it was a little bit of spoiler.
Yeah.
Because we are here to talk about
Scramble Battle of Britain.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been working a lot on this title, so today we are celebrating a little our accomplishments so far. But most of all, we are celebrating a new content, the multiplayer, the first multiplayer release in Scramble.
Woohoo!
This is actually a beta feature. I mean, the game is in early access, so we are launching this content in a few minutes, and we are looking to gathering feedback from our community. So I invite you to try it and let us know what you think about it.
Very good. So we have kind of a long schedule ahead of us. So I hope that all of these will enjoy you a lot. And so I think that we can start with the first thing that we have for
Absolutely. So
community.
I think we can already connect with John, the developer of Scramble. So hi John.
Hey, how are you guys?
We are good. How are you, John?
Good.
Are you excited?
I'm great. Yeah, I'm very excited. Are you guys awake? Didn't you have a time change last night?
Yes.
Yeah.
We had that. You can see from our
right, good.
faces.
Yeah, we're finally back on the same time. We did it a month ago.
Yes. Okay.
So, John, multiplayer, we finally released it, or at least we are finally releasing it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Do you want to share a little bit of details about this first release of multiplayer in Scramble?
Yeah, we are incredibly excited. Scramble's always been a good multiplayer game, long before we had coded any AI behavior for the enemy bot aircraft, which has been the only way that our current player base has experienced the game up until now. Scramble was initially prototyped as a multiplayer game because to have two people playing together takes the burden off of all of that AI code. So Scramble's always been a great multiplayer experience, and multiplayer programming is complex. Networking programming is always complex. So since we are in early access, we have the benefit of rolling our multiplayer features out sort of one at a time and scaffolding on top of whatever success we're able to find here. So the very first thing people are going to be able to play when they log in today is PvP multiplayer. So one human versus another one human. Each team will have a set of 3 fighter aircraft, and they'll be primarily balanced scenarios. So nobody will have a really outsized advantage. So you'll be flying 3 109s versus 3 Spitfires. Players have the option of requesting a specific Air Force, and then we will randomly pair people together. And as long as there's another player out there looking for a Scramble game, you should be able to find a match.
Yeah, that's it. And also we are setting up a Discord channel, so people will eventually be able to look for partners on our Discord and find other members of the community to play against if they find themselves alone in the matchmaking. But how do you envision the multiplayer will evolve in the future? Can you give us a little bit of spoiler?
Yeah, we had always designed Scramble so that functionally any match or any scenario you fly could be playable in multiplayer, because all we have to do on the back end is allow different players to connect and occupy different sections that are in the sky. So the end goal of multiplayer is that any match that you would play in a regular Scramble game, whether that's in a squadron leader match that you've saved off, or eventually once we get a campaign up and running, a campaign match. Ideally, we will eventually get it so you can load that scenario into multiplayer and have players go and occupy different sections and fly it, and the remaining planes that are not occupied by human players will just be occupied by the same bots that play in the game with you right now. So that's down the road, and our very first step is to get this 1v1 PvP system running. One of some of the early features that we will add to multiplayer are additional players. So more than just 1v1, we'd like to add co-op missions sooner than later. So you and another player can play on the same Air Force against enemy bots. We know that we want to get lobbies in for matchmaking, because right now our very first iteration is all random matchmaking, but we would like players to be able to intentionally choose the people that they play against. So there's a lot of features that we have planned to bring online, and this initial beta iteration of the multiplayer is so that we can find the foundational kind of bugs in our networking code, get those fixed, and then we'll start to bring more multiplayer features online.
Amazing. And yeah, as usually as it happened so far with Scramble, we are also planning to involve the community a lot in shaping the game through its early access journey. So how are we planning to gather more feedback from the community?
We have an active Discord server. The developers are active in there. We have a bunch of community members who are always excitedly playing Scramble in there. People post screenshots. People post their match replay files, which you can then load up and see how somebody else played through a match. You can go in to a match replay file that somebody loaded up onto Discord, pull it down, load it into your game, and you could even take over, midway through a match and see if you could outperform anybody who posted one of those files. So Discord is a great place to get in contact with us. We're very responsive to questions, to feedback. We try to we scrape our Discord server on a regular basis, log all of our feedback. It's a great way for us to find where bugs exist in the game. We also are pretty active on our Steam forums, and we've had some good community discussions on Steam forums, questions people have had, ideas people have had for additional features that especially like sort of UI user experience kind of features in the dogfight gameplay. Like, what kind of information would you like us to provide you while you are playing a Scramble match that would help you make better tactical decisions? That's the kind of stuff that we really crave feedback on, because we need a wide player base to be able to get those kind of answers and help the game take its better final shape throughout early access. And then in addition to that, we created a survey, and that survey is going to be linked in the Scramble build. It'll also be linked in Discord and on the Steam forums at some point. So that survey will ask explicit questions. What are you enjoying the most? What would you like to see enhanced or improved? So hopefully we have plenty of venues for people to get in touch with us.
John, you mentioned the development, so the amazing job that you, along with the rest of the team, Miguel, Spencer, and the other ones working on this project are doing, like shaping this game since it's been released in early access in September, and you're doing you are keeping improving and adding stuff to the game. So you're doing like an amazing job on that. What were the challenges that you have encountered since the beginning, if any?
Yeah, I would say the earliest and kind of longest standing challenge from a development standpoint for us was the aircraft control. And we've talked a lot about that in the Flight School series. We now have a streamlined method of aircraft control that we call the turn climb assist. That's a single two-axis interface that allows players to kind of like in their brain say, I want to go up and to the right. So they can kind of move their stick up and to the right. And that assist that we developed couples all three of the major aircraft control axes into one. And before we brought that system online, we were finding that when we provided like all users the default experience of controlling all 3 aircraft axes, that it was very hard for a lot of people to attach to the game. So now that we've or once we solved that like attachability issue, the rest of Scramble development like really sped up. And so after that, after we got it to where people could intuitively move their aircraft around the sky, another thing that I mentioned earlier in this is coming up with UI and UX solutions while you're in the dogfight to communicate tactical information, or to communicate information to players to allow them to better make tactical decisions. That's always been a difficult problem for us to solve, and it's the kind of problem that we really need a lot of player feedback for. And Scramble is this turn-based tactical dogfighting game that is fully driven by a solid physics simulation. Fundamentally, it's kind of a new genre of it's a new like sort of subgenre of tactics game that I don't think many other developers have successfully implemented. So we are kind of constantly pushing up against these experience design boundaries. And I think one of the near future ones that we hope to solve in a much more robust way is the system that we have for aircraft escaping the airspace and escaping battles. I think we improved our escape mechanics a lot when we introduced Squadron Leader to the video game, and Squadron Leader gives your pilots a sense of permanence, because when they die, they're out of your squadron, and then if you lose all of your pilots, you lose the game. So that gave players a really tangible incentive for trying to escape their pilots if they get a little damaged or their aircraft get damaged or something. But escaping is still one of the areas of the core Scramble gameplay that we know we need to make more interesting and compelling, and we definitely need a lot more player feedback, and we need to know like what aspects of it are working, what aspects need to be improved. So yeah, the escaping stuff is probably our biggest challenge at the moment.
One thing that I love about that is that you are, as you said before, you are doing like you are improving and keeping working on that thanks to the feedback coming from the community. Yeah. So like the feedback coming from people that are like playing the game, that is really, really important to you and the job that you are doing on that. So talking about people and the Scramble community, is there any like advice or suggestion that you would give to someone new to the game and to the subgenre, since it's kind of new?
Yeah. Well, the first obvious thing I would say is that we have a link to the Discord server and to the Steam forums right on the main menu of Scramble. And I would recommend anybody who like is interested in this game, or like if you load up a match and you can tell that like it's sort of, you know, tickling a good tactics part of your brain, like hop into our channels and come and talk to people, ask questions, because we have some community members who have spent a lot of time in Scramble and have developed sort of their own theories of how best to implement dogfighting tactics in this turn-based environment, and they will be really helpful to helping you understand some of the core mechanics of the game. And then also, as developers, we're always happy to answer questions and help people. So we have good opportunities for you to learn from real people. But in just a raw advice on turn by turn playing the game, I wrote some stuff down here. No matter how hard we try to communicate to players that there is uncertainty baked into what your enemies are going to do, it's still really hard to get your brain to understand that, like, when you see this line projecting out of an airplane while you're setting up a scramble turn, that your airplanes will follow those lines perfectly. The enemy's airplanes may not follow their lines perfectly. The enemy, like when you're playing a multiplayer game, this comes across a lot more clearly because you have this concept that there's another human being who's probably going to maneuver the airplanes differently than what you're seeing. But when you play against AI, it's really hard to convince your brain that like what I'm seeing the enemy airplanes do is not like perfect truth. So try to remind yourself that the AI is always going to try and come and turn around and shoot back at you. And so keep the fact that all of these turn inputs are a little bit uncertain in the forefront of your mind. Another thing that people do a lot when they first pick up the game is they try to micromanage all of their shots. So every time they feel like they have a shot lined up, they try to perfectly align their guns onto this little aiming reticle that we give players. But those aiming reticles and everything, those are tools. So again, remember, some of this stuff is uncertain, and sort of the more turns that you play and the more matches and games of Scramble you play, the more fun you're going to have and the more you're going to learn. So I would advise people to aim for like the portion of the sky that you expect the enemy aircraft to fly in and occupy, rather than trying to like perfectly line up like a sniping shot on a pilot or something. The last thing is that we have this G-force mechanic in the game, and your pilots can black out. So when you pull the stick really hard backwards, if you pull a really hard turn, over time, your pilot's going to lose consciousness and black out, and then you don't have control over those pilots until they regain consciousness. And we give you a lot of control authority in Scramble, so it's pretty easy to black your pilots out. So if you start seeing there's these black dotted lines that are on the flight paths, and if you start seeing those things pop up, just be aware that that's our way of trying to warn you that you're pulling a pretty hard turn. Just make sure that you don't like overdo it and knock your pilot out.
Lovely. I guess that the most important thing is that the more you play, the more you will enjoy the game. That is my main take on that. John, will you stay other like couple of minutes with us more, because I think that we want to give like a little bit of spoiler on the future of Scramble.
Yeah, that's our thank you note to our beloved community that has been, as you said, very active. So can we show the roadmap on the screen? Here it is. Oh yeah, we have a couple of interesting content that is coming soon. You will have the multiplayer in really a few minutes if it hasn't been yet implemented in the game. But coming soon is also new airplanes like the Dornier 17 that people will be available to play against very soon. Updates to the multiplayer and many other bits of content. What do you have a favorite among these, John, in our roadmap?
Well, down in that future area, there are some like damage and simulation upgrades, readouts, which is when you push the stick forward instead of pulling the stick back. The blood rushes to your head, and that's pretty dangerous for pilots. And right now, we don't model that in any way. So, like, since my background is always, since my background is in the simulation aspect of the game, personally, I'm always really excited for that. But from a project perspective and a customer perspective, I am very excited for bringing the larger twin engine bombers. There are 3 large twin engine bombers that we'll be bringing on the German side: the Dornier 17, the Ju-88, and the He-111. Those are all much bigger aircraft or much bigger targets than we have in the game right now. And the only bomber that we have in the game right now is the Ju-87 Stuka. It's tiny. It's only got one rear gunner, and he's not using a particularly powerful machine gun, so it's not super dangerous. They're kind of like sitting ducks. Even if they do want to go and maneuver and try to escape and get away, they're not very maneuverable. So it's pretty exciting for us as a team to bring on a bigger bomber that's going to have a lot more stuff ripping off of it as you shoot it, a lot more gunners. So there will be, if you want to fly at a really in sort of a straight, stable line to attack these bombers, there's going to be there's going to be, multiple aspects from which you could come attack the bomber, where you yourself will be pretty vulnerable if you don't like break off and fly away, just because they have more gunners in the planes. And then in the same way that I mentioned that we are hoping to, in the near term, refine our escaping mechanics to make that a more satisfying experience for players to engage with. We know that when we bring on these bigger bombers, we also have to make our bomber experience much more interesting to engage with. So currently, the Stukas that we have, they really just fly in a straight line. We don't even have them escaping at the end of the match. We leave it up to the player to decide when have the bombers flown so far away that it's not worth me trying to re-engage them. But we'd like to make that, we'd like to wrap more gameplay and rules around that. So if bombers get, a certain range away, it's sort of like they're getting to an objective and they can get themselves out of a battle. But we also have our bombers pretty dumb. They're on kind of like a straight and level autopilot. When you attack them and you start to damage formation, single bombers will peel off and try to go home, but they don't ever try to evade you or anything. But we'd like to add some more AI behavior to that. So if you start to like break up a bomber formation or like, spook the pilots or something, maybe they can drop their bombs out and start to turn around, try to evade you shooting them. Like, we want them to feel less like sitting ducks and bullet sponges, and we want them to feel more lively. So more so than just bringing on these specific airframes, I think as a team, we're really excited to bring on a more comprehensive like bomber attacking and intercept experience. And then Squadron Leader has been the game mode that has kept our players most engaged. People seem to really like having a distinct set of pilots with a distinct set of traits. They like seeing that as their pilots rack up kills and stats and stuff, those kills are accruing next to their names and stuff. It's giving people a good sense of pilot permanence. And one thing that we had always promised and spoken about as a team was pilots evolving as they gain experience over the course of the Battle of Britain. And so we do have we've got some designs and early prototype stuff in place right now for pilot training, so that you will not only will your pilots just like accrue stats, potentially get injured and heal and stuff, need to go on rest, but your pilots, like their core capabilities will change throughout the Battle of Britain as you sort of like bring these people on. Some of them who are like inexperienced, you may not understand that much about as you start, but then as they start to accrue experience, you'll see their new pilot traits popping in. And stuff. We want pilots. We want it to feel like there's a sense of stress when pilots are getting overused, which we sort of have. We have implemented in a very light way right now with a fatigue system, but we would like to communicate the mental and emotional stress of constantly being on alert, flying all the time, seeing your friends die all around you and stuff. So we want these pilots to continue feeling a little bit more human. And we want them to kind of grow or be shaped by the war. So those are near-term things, and I think as a team we're very excited to bring on all of that.
Yeah, that will surely add another level of reality to Scramble, even more that it already has with this chaos. I think that one of the best aspects of Scramble is that even if we try to put turns into digestible chunks, you still feel the chaos and the uncertainty of a dogfight. So eventually, the pilot training and everything concerning pilot will add a new level to this. So thank you, John, for being with us today and for answering these questions. And see you soon.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Always happy to be on.
Bye, John.
Bye. Okay.
I think that we will kind of have John also in the next content, right?
Yeah. We have him. Since we started talking about Scramble, it was really the main character of this. I remember flight school which was one of our first video series, and he was basically the teacher who drove us to the various aspects of Scramble, but is also very present on the Discord channel. So he is really always there, and and the community can feel it. But he's not the only one.
Exactly.
Also today we have other guests, but I don't want to give too much spoiler now.
Not for now.
Yeah, for now we are focused on the multiplayer, and we can see the very first preview, the very first sneak peek on it, as we have actually a gameplay match that we can show.
Let's see.
Hello pilots, and welcome to Scramble Battle of Britain. Today I will be looking at the new multiplayer beta for Scramble. Now, no man plays a multiplayer beta on his own, so joining me today is John. You may know John, but I'm going to get him to introduce himself anyway. Hello, John.
Hello, Edmund. Thank you for having me. My name's John Coughlin. I am the lead developer on Scramble Battle of Britain, and our team is very excited to have this multiplayer mode out in the open and available for our player base, because Scramble is it's an exciting and very dynamic, multiplayer game when you're playing an exciting and dynamic turn-based game when you're playing in multiplayer with the uncertainty of having another human on the other side.
Cool. Okay, so I'm just going to click on multiplayer here where it says multiplayer is out. Go beat John. He's easy. Are you easy, John?
I might be. That was probably a note left in there by Miguel, one of the other programmers on the team, and I think Miguel is currently unbeaten in his multiplayer games, and he has beaten me every time, and that is, I guess, in the press build, but we will have to update. We'll have to update that text log for the final release build that we publish.
Oh, I think that's brilliant. I think that's very funny. I think that the sense of humor needs to be there for any multiplayer game. Okay, so I'm going to play as the RAF today because I'm British, and that makes perfect sense. So I'm just going to select, and I'm going to find a match, and I should get John immediately. Look at that. Instant matchmaking. I love it. Okay. You've got height and I've got angle. That's interesting.
Yeah. I'm not feeling great about this start.
Really? I don't know. I think height is quite nice to have.
It's not much height. It's like you're at 860 feet. I'm at 993 feet. So 100 feet of height, not that much. You're gonna get.
What's the worst that could happen? You could just get broadsided, right?
Yeah, I think that is the worst. We'll see.
Now, you're going to have to use your height to your advantage. Okay, I'm set up. Ready when you are, John.
Oh, did I get out unscathed? Yeah.
Yeah?
I don't think anybody got hit. All right, Edmund. Good luck.
You're going for some tight dives there, I see.
You know what? I don't think I realized. It didn't totally cross my mind that I was so low to the sea already. And that's not good. Not ideal.
It kind of looks to me like dive might be the operative word here in the oceanic sense of the word.
Yeah, what I'm worried about is that both of my pilots trying to get out of this situation. The only way to get out is to pull a pretty insane G-load, and I'm very worried that they won't black out in one turn, I don't think, but on the second turn I might have two guys scraping the ocean blacked out, so I'm gonna have to try to figure out a way to
oh wow, I'm getting the beginner's advantage here because I have not played any multiplayer games of Scramble just yet, so all my reactions and joy is 100% real as I set you up to be shot down here. Okay, let's go.
Okay, these guys are actually going to get out a lot. They're going to get out a lot better than I thought. So I don't think either of them are going to end up blacking out. So I really like. I've noticed that when I'm playing multiplayer matches, I use the tactical view way more than when I play single player matches. I think because multiplayer matches, because most human players are better than the AI that we've coded thus far. I think multiplayer matches are just a little bit more sort of chaotic and challenging, and so you get into more scenarios where I don't always remember where the enemy planes have clustered. So
okay, this is some very tight turns for me.
yeah, I'm looking at Ingalls, who's almost at half consciousness.
Yeah, it's because you can push the planes as hard as the planes will go, right? Which is not
Correct.
how pilots would normally push their planes. They wouldn't push their plane as absolutely as hard as it will go because they'd be concerned about it breaking.
Well, there's concern about it breaking,
them breaking.
But yeah, them breaking is the bigger. Once you get damage, you definitely can't. You can rip stuff off if you pull too many G's. But the bigger concern early on is just that the pilot will black out. Once they black out, you fully lose control of the pilot until they regain consciousness. So you'll have one or more turns where, oh boy, I've got a guy, Heinrichs, who is, might be blacking out on this turn. That's not good. Yeah, when your pilots black out, you will lose the ability to control them for one turn, maybe 2 turns. And then as the match goes on, blacking your pilots out lowers like their stamina. They just get fatigued. They get exhausted from continual G loading, so they black out easier. So if you have a long match, by the end of the match, a lot of the pilots may be struggling to pull tight turns, and at that point it gets you have to be very tactically savvy to sort of line up a shot a couple turns in advance.
Okay, I have a very dangerous situation near the near the bottom of the sea here.
Yeah, saw that guy.
Oh, but if it works, it will pay off.
Oh no!
No, he's still passed out.
Oh my god! Heinrich's passed out. Shoot! He's flying straight down to the ocean. He's dead. He's dead. I already lost a pilot. Wow.
That's alright, I lost one too, even though I straightened him out before he passed out. He's still passed out.
Is he going into the sea as well?
Maybe? I think so.
Alright.
Too aggressive. We're both too aggressive.
Yes.
I think, like, over-aggression is something all new players experience in this game, right?
Probably, and yet, you know, I mentioned earlier that Miguel, one of our programmers, has never lost a match. He's the most aggressive player on the development team, and he somehow wins from it. But whenever I play too aggressive, my guys black out and I kill them. So I don't know. There's some balance. There's some balance to it that I have not figured out. At least when playing against Miguel. Who knows? We're suddenly going to open up the game to a far larger player pool, and maybe I'll be able to log on and get some multiplayer. Oh, I got some shots from a previous turn on you.
Oh, this guy's about to get dunked.
Yeah, it didn't do any serious damage though. Yep, my guy is as well. We do have a somewhat forgiving collider zone with the sea, so you can actually like dip a wing into the sea at times. But it looks like I'm dipping my entire aircraft body in, so I think my dude's dead.
I think I would have done better if I'd have just flown in a straight line, if I'm honest with you.
I have my camera positioned to watch the simulated turn. I have my camera framed so that I will see both your plane and my plane crash into the sea, and then also the rest of the planes up at the top of the screen.
Okay, that's 2 dunkings.
Yeah. 2 deaths. Bummer.
Oh, I think there's going to be another one. I see a guy who's passed out and is going straight down.
Huh? I don't think so. I don't see anybody else passed out.
It might be my prediction.
Yeah, you have a pilot named Ford, and he is pulling stress, but I don't think he's passed out yet. So I think he should be safe.
Okay.
Get him. Ooh. Did I actually line you up for
Nope.
a good pass?
You missed.
I know I missed, but I'm trying to see if can I get you on a good pass on this turn? Play it kind of safe with that guy. Ooh. Actually, can kind of just cover all my bases here.
What? It all depends on how I turn, doesn't it? It depends on how I turn is how you turn, and so now the mind games can commence.
Yeah. Oh, I got him. Elevator, aileron, and wing. Okay. Good, that's exactly what I wanted.
Uh-oh, I'm gonna lose to John, who's easy.
We'll see. Whew. Wow. I'm not careful. Could. Ooh, I might actually collide with some of that debris that I just chopped off you.
Oh, that would be nice. Maybe I can pull out a handgun here and just shoot back from the cockpit.
Definitely a World War I strategy. Their planes were slow enough. I missed it. Edmund, are you playing on mouse and keyboard, I assume?
I am, yes.
Okay.
So what controller support is available for Scramble?
Yeah. Well, the game had always been envisioned as a gamepad playable experience, and I as a dev team, we do feel like that's kind of the best experience because the controls of Scramble are on analog axes, and gamepad thumbsticks give you a great analog axis control, so you can fine-tune stuff really easily. Now, using the mouse, you can go and grab the control, the cross of control that we have, and you can get a lot of that fine-tuning easier than if you were to use like the digital keyboard buttons. But yeah, it should be playable on any gamepad that you have, and we haven't done any real testing with alternative input devices like a flight joystick or something, because it is an airplane game and people want to play with their joysticks. I don't know if that's personally the way that I would play Scramble, but
yeah, just to be clear, we have fully
remappable
remappable keys, right? So
yeah, everything's remappable. So I assume that there are some players out there who have tried to hook the game up to their joystick. But gamepad is my preferred way to play.
Okay, let's play on. Went for quite the hard turn there.
Yes, it did. I gotta be careful about blacking out Paulson again. And his stamina is pretty low already. Oh, all right. Fuel tank, coolant radiator. Luck bailed from plane. Oh, you snapped, Edmund. You snapped off the other aileron on your other plane over there. I must have snapped off a turn or two ago.
I bailed him, so
yeah.
I think we're in the end game here.
I would assume so. I'm gonna chop my throttle, see if that stay on this guy's tail. Pass at him. Oh. See, I don't think I'm gonna get any more shots on him from there.
That's all right. It's we're going down. There you go. You weren't so easy, John.
Not in that match.
Not in that match.
This is a very contained dogfight. No airplanes really leaving more than like a sort of, I don't know, maybe 1,000 or 1 kilometer circle. It's neat.
Yeah, wow, that's a knife fight in a phone booth, that one. But let's see what happens this time.
Good job for John, right?
But also for Edmond. I mean, let's thank him for playing this match, and congrats to John for his win.
Yeah.
But now we need to move forward because we have a very, very special news for everybody. Back last week or 2 weeks ago, however, lately we have announced our new project, a documentary series that we have been working on for a while now.
This was the first project that you have done, like as a brand manager for Scramble, right? One of the first things that you
it was
have done.
back in February last year when we went to Biggin to film the production of this documentary. But yeah, it's been an exciting project, especially because we collaborated with really amazing people. We have a special guest in a few minutes. So you will see John again in the documentary, but you will also see two very expert historians, Victoria Taylor and Paul Beaver, who are talking about the Battle of Britain. So let's see the trailer and then connect with
Victoria Taylor.
This is the first time in the world that there is a major aerial battle between 600 British aircraft and 2,500 German aircraft.
When you look at all these amazing characteristics of these fighter aces, you can start to see the absolutely amazing men that took part in this battle.
Fewer than 10% of the pilots in the Battle of Britain actually shot down an aeroplane.
They ended up being honoured for sacrificing their lives for a country that wasn't even theirs.
Number one attack, number two attack. It's all about how you position your aeroplanes.
Players are only flying airplanes for 2 seconds at a time, but the novel aspect of Scramble being a turn-based game is that we have a flight simulation underneath.
And in fact, this actually got so intense for the Luftwaffe that its suicide rates rocketed during the Battle of Britain.
It's won not just by pilots, not just by fighter aircraft, it's won by the whole nation.
As the battle progresses, just as it did in history, pilots will inevitably be lost.
It's a death sentence when you're in the air.
As a result, you've got to be careful to make sure that you are conserving your aircraft.
At the end of the day, everything we do in life is about the people.
Here you are. Hi there, Victoria.
Hello, how are you both doing?
We're good.
We're good. We have the chills for this trailer.
Well, you have the chills because you made it so wonderfully. So, you know, it's all your work. But it was amazing to take part in it. And Paul and I were thrilled to see Slitherine take so much attention to detail for Scramble.
Yeah, but one of the biggest part is because of you, Victoria. You were very special in this, our star, and you helped us during all the process because we started like brainstorming topics and places. You helped us identify the places, identify the topics, and then went to film with us in Biggin Hill. Actually, that was the first time we met.
Yes. Yes, absolutely, and such a hallowed place to film it. You know, I think that's what made Scramble and Slitherine games stand out for us as historians, is because as historians, we've seen so many media outlets get lazy and sometimes see video games get lazy because they sort of want to capitalize on the drama of these historical events. But Slitherine really wasn't that. I think the moment that we heard where you wanted to film, we knew that that love and that passion and that attention to detail was there. So we were on board straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. But tell us a little bit more about your involvement with the documentary. I mean, tell us a little about your expertise. How are you bound to this big argument?
Sure. So I am a historian that specializes in the history of the RAF and the Luftwaffe. So immediately the premise of Scramble was really fascinating to me. And also the fact that it doesn't just look at British RAF fighters and the Luftwaffe, but the fact it had expanded across so many different nationalities, because really on the British side, it was an international effort, not just with the British, but with Commonwealth personnel, with the men from Nazi-occupied countries and from neutral countries as well. So I've always found that really fascinating. I've been working on my book, which is entitled Eagle Days, Life and Death for the Luftwaffe in the Battle of Britain. And really, Scramble was the first time that I actually got to share some of this information in the documentary. So you might remember in the trailer, for instance, I talk about the fact that Luftwaffe suicide rates have skyrocketed towards the end of the Battle of Britain. And so I think all that content that John was talking about earlier about, you know, pilots that can end up being spooked or who are on their last nerve, you know, are truly fatigued by the battle. It's really true to life. And so I really appreciate the way that Scramble interweaves that. So we have the genuine operational morale, we have the mechanics of gameplay, and I think the wedding together is really impressive in Scramble.
Yeah, and that will come in our documentary, but we are also looking forward to reading your book, which is being published in May, right?
Yes, 22nd of May. And obviously I'm planning to be able to give copies to the Slitherine team. But it delves into the mindset and morale of the Luftwaffe during the Battle of Britain, how much its airmen were very much instilled with the invasion mentality, irrespective of how likely Sea Line was going to take place and ultimately to succeed. But it delves into a lot of unknown source materials. So some of the letters that Luftwaffe airmen sent back home that documents their morale and how they perceived the campaign. And it goes across the flying arms, but also the ground crew as well. So it's kind of bringing the Luftwaffe into the 21st century and looking at it in a way that is a little bit more fresh and new and not just baked in old mythology. So it should prove an interesting, unofficial companion to Scramble if you want to read more into a very infamous Air Force.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we are so lucky because we get the chance to have been working with you, and we will get the chance to get a copy. But for those who are not lucky as us, the book is now pre-orderable online. So stay tuned for it. Thank you, Victoria. I'm looking forward to seeing you again.
Great. Thank you so much, ladies. It really was wonderful to work on this project.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Victoria. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Very good. I think that we are ready for the next.
Yeah.
I will give you the pleasure to launch this, because I think that this is like a very big moment for the company, not only for Scramble, because this is like one very big project. So shout outs to everyone that has worked on it, to Enzo, Michele, Dani, and all the rest of the people that have worked on that. I love this first episode, and there will be like many more. So yeah, I will give you the word to you, because yeah,
Yeah, I still have the chills for the trailer, so I don't know if I will be good enough for that. But here we have the very first preview of our first episode of the documentary, A Lens on Battle of Britain. You will be able to see it later today, but for those who are following us live, we have this treat for you before saying goodbye. So let's see the first episode of A Lens on Battle of Britain.
The Battle of Britain was a campaign for aerial superiority over southern England and the Channel. If Germany achieved aerial superiority in this region, the Nazi war machine could attempt to invade the home islands, destroying what was left of Allied forces in Western Europe after the fall of France. A campaign for air supremacy of this scale and intensity had never been waged before. New tactics, planes, systems and people would fight a new kind of war, an air war. Aces were the premier fighter pilots of their day, men who had shot down at least 5 enemy aircraft. These pilots were not just skilled in dogfighting, but provided a solid core of leadership for the Air Force.
When you talk about aces, you have to actually understand the whole history of aces. It's something that comes from the First World War, and it's something actually that comes from the French. They wanted to publicize the way in which their aviation was winning the air battle when on the ground they were really badly off. The Germans were defeating the French at almost every battle. So for propaganda purposes, they created this term, an ace. And then, interestingly, the British did not use the term ace in the First World War because they felt that that was demeaning of those pilots who didn't shoot down 5 aeroplanes.
With their skills and experience, aces were often leading innovators of air combat, developing new theories and tactics.
There were a number of remarkable RAF aces in the Battle of Britain, and perhaps one of the most recognisable is Douglas Bader. Douglas Bader was a double amputee Hurricane pilot, and he's best known, of course, for being one of the great thinkers and advocates of the Duxford Big Wing theory. There was also Eric Locke, who was known as Sawn-Off Lockie because of his short stature, and he became a quadruple ace in the Battle of Britain. So when you look at all of these amazing characteristics of these fighter aces, you can start to see the absolutely amazing men that took place in this battle.
An ace is a charismatic person who is able to fly and to fight in a way which is really good at achieving the ultimate aim. The ultimate aim of having fighter aeroplanes defending your airspace is you shoot down the enemy. So the aces are the people who shoot down 5 enemy aircraft, and it doesn't have to be in a day, it could be in a week or a month to become an ace. There are pilots in the Battle of Britain who shot down 5 aircraft in a day because the fighting was very hectic. What the Royal Air Force did was create an image of the ace. Really good for publicity, really good on newsreel, in cinemas and in newspapers. So you have a list of these people, 5 victories or more, who become aces. Most of the aces also go on to become leaders. But interestingly, of all the people who fly in the Battle of Britain, aces are fewer than 5%. In fact, fewer than 10% of the pilots in the Battle of Britain actually shot down an aeroplane. So you have these sort of statistics which make you understand just how important an ace is and where the leadership qualities come from.
No one was born an ace, and every pilot needed as many advantages as he could get. Radar, airfield, support staff and good training were all necessary to give the Royal Air Force an edge in combat.
The fascinating thing about the Battle of Britain is Britain started preparing for it in 1936. The integrated air defense system was created in order to defend the metropolitan area, which means basically London. The thought was that any enemy, and by 1936 it was obviously going to be Nazi Germany, that any enemy would be coming from Germany, so across the North Sea, and so therefore airfields were constructed in the east of Britain. Now, it's all very well to have an integrated air defense system and start to pioneer radar and start to look at all sorts of other systems. But the most important thing is you need pilots to fly fighter aeroplanes. Now, Britain was lucky it had both the Spitfire and the Hurricane, two leading edge aircraft of their time. But what they really needed was to have a pool of aviators, of pilots, not just the regular career Royal Air Force officers, but they also needed to have non-commissioned officers, the sergeants. They also needed to have reservists, and they needed to have volunteers that would come and train in the event of war. So they actually had a really good system.
This trained pool of pilots and support staff were not just from Great Britain. Men and women from Britain's colonies and from friendly countries came to fight against the Axis powers.
But of course, we're not just talking about a European battle. There are also fighter aces, fighter pilots that are participating for the Allies that are from North America and also across the Commonwealth. So, for instance, there are some fascinating stories of some early American pilots that had come over to Britain to fight on the side of the RAF. Pilot officer Billy Fisk, for instance, felt so keenly about fighting on the Allied side that he ended up pretending to be Canadian and managed to sneak his way to fight alongside the Royal Air Force. But of course, America wasn't yet in the war during this period, so they had to be put in next to the British, to the French, to the Czechs, to the Poles. And what's particularly interesting is that they do start to form their own Eagle Squadron, number 71 Squadron, in the September of 1940. And it's important that they're learning all these lessons in the Battle of Britain because the squadron finally goes operational the next year. Sadly, though, a lot of these early American pilots were the first to fall in the Battle of Britain, and they ended up being honoured for sacrificing their lives for a country that wasn't even theirs.
With the start of the war, the Royal Air Force massively expanded in size. Every battle was a painful chance to learn new tactics. The doctrines developed by the professionals during the interwar years would have to adapt to the realities of modern air combat.
By the time that 1940 comes about, several of the squadrons have already fought in France, so they understand the German tactics. What then is important is to train the replacements to understand that. If you have regulars and reservists have a tendency to bring different views. They are coming across a way in which they are laterally thinking about problems. The problem the Royal Air Force Fighter Command had in 1940 was a lot of the squadron leaders had been in the Air Force for 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. They were very set in their approach on how they would do things. So they had standard attack formations. Number 1 attack, number 2 attack. It's all about how you position your aeroplanes. That's fine if you're only attacking a bomber stream. But what the planners hadn't really understood was that the Netherlands, Belgium, and particularly France would fall to the Germans. So therefore, there would be fighter bases close to the Channel. So instead of just fighting bombers, the Royal Air Force would have to fight fighters. Now, both Spitfire and Hurricane were designed as bomber destroyers, not necessarily as dogfighters. So you have this whole issue of where do you best situate your airplanes and how do you best man them? Should it be all regulars, or can you use the auxiliary air force?
Ultimately, wars are fought by people. It was a mix of well-trained professionals, reservists and volunteers that ensured the Spitfire and Hurricane won the Battle of Britain. In Scramble, we put these pilots front and centre, highlighting how crucial these personalities were in winning the air war.
Every pilot in Scramble has a unique identity and a unique set of character and personality traits and piloting performance traits. And some pilots will, for instance, panic when they're being fired at. Some pilots may find some calm or focus and excel when they are under that kind of pressure. Some pilots will fly their best when they are near a wingman. Some pilots will prefer to fly alone. And as the section leader, while you're playing the dogfight from moment to moment, it will be players' responsibility to use their pilots in a way that enhances their strengths and minimizes the weaknesses of each of their traits.
Flying a fighter aircraft is no easy feat. Pilots had to endure high G-turns, risked being wounded by gunfire, and needed to maintain constant alertness. Physical fitness was of paramount importance.
One of the other things to remember about the Battle of Britain is the age of the pilots. The average age is about 21, 22 years old. So these are fit people. They have a strict routine of physical training, which of course, as you get into warfighting, starts to disappear. So you have to be physically fit. You're often flying up at 15, 20,000 feet, which requires you to have oxygen. At the time, we didn't know enough about the long-term effects of flying on 100% oxygen at altitude, the stress, the adrenaline that was coming. If you see something that's in front of you that's the enemy, I mean, it's fear and flight is normally what psychiatrists say happens. You suddenly are scared and you want to run away. Or to a fighter pilot, you might be scared, but you can't run away. You've got to go and fight. So you had to have a really different mindset. It's those pilots that had that mindset that survived. And these are the aces. These are the people who just understood exactly what they had to go and do. So mental health becomes really important, as well as physical health.
The physical and mental stress pilots had to endure, combined with the visibility of air combat, made them heroes for the public. Propaganda highlighting their exploits was crucial to keep up morale and encourage recruitment.
But of course, because the public knew the kind of pressures and strains that these men were going through, they immediately became heroes in their respective countries. So, of course, the fighter aces were splashed over magazines and newspapers. They were dashing, they were young, they were very much dangerous to the other side. They were saving their own respective countries. And so they very much got celebrated in the media, through newsreels, and of course receiving awards. In Britain, of course, Fighter Command and Bomber Command are immortalised as the few by Winston Churchill in his speech. But this ends up becoming really synonymous with the fighter aces, as it has done ever since. And of course, these men were young, they were dashing, they were dangerous, and that really attracted the attention of the British public, who backed their airmen very, very firmly. The Luftwaffe, of course, had the same treatment of their aces, and of course, seeing these airmen in the newsreels was really inspiring for the next generation of pilots. So, for instance, seeing Werner Molders and Adolf Galland in all of these newsreels was very much celebrated. In Britain, of course, it was a natural recruitment campaign for the RAF because everybody watched the dogfights outside. They were known as goofers, they weren't meant to be there. Of course, it is an active combat zone, but ultimately it is a fascinating arena for the British public to watch the Battle of Britain. And this ends up inspiring the next fighter pilots of the future. There's young British children running around and pointing in the skies and saying, that's Ginger Lacey, whether it was or not, because there is this real pride at these individuals, and they can be celebrated in a way individually that you don't get as much in other forces.